Welcome back to Speakly. I'm Alex, and this is the podcast where we help people learn English through fun, natural conversations. Whether you're just starting your English journey or you're looking to improve your speaking skills, this show is designed to help you learn real English the way native speakers actually use it. Today, I'm excited to have Priya here with me. Priya, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. I'm really excited to be here. This is such a fun topic. I love talking about cooking and family recipes.
Perfect. So today we're talking about cooking favorite family recipes. Priya, do you have a special family recipe that means a lot to you?
Oh, absolutely. My grandmother's dal recipe. Dal is like a lentil soup, but it's so much more than that in Indian cooking. It's comfort food, you know? Every time I make it, I think of my grandmother and all the times she made it for our family.
That sounds amazing. What makes your grandmother's version special?
Well, she had this secret spice mix that she would make herself. She would roast the spices in a pan until they smelled incredible. Cumin, coriander, turmeric, and a little bit of hing, which is asafoetida. Most people buy spice powder from the store, but she insisted on making it fresh every time.
Wow, that must have made such a difference in the flavor.
Oh my goodness, yes. The whole house would smell amazing, and she would let me help her when I was little. I remember standing on a chair next to the stove, and she would teach me how to stir the spices just right so they wouldn't burn.
That's such a sweet memory. Do you still make it the same way she did?
I try to. The main ingredients are yellow lentils, onions, tomatoes, ginger, garlic, and of course, those fresh spices. But my grandmother never wrote anything down. She would just say things like, add spices until it smells right, or cook until it looks good.
Oh no, that's so typical of grandmas, isn't it?
Exactly. So when I first moved out of my parents' house and tried to make it myself, it was a disaster. The first time, I put way too much turmeric and it was bright yellow and bitter. The second time, I forgot to add salt and it was so bland.
I love hearing about cooking disasters. They're always the best stories. Speaking of learning recipes, do you remember the very first time you tried to cook something completely on your own? Like not just following a recipe, but actually trying to create something?
Oh, wow, yes. I was probably 14 or 15, and I decided I was going to surprise my family by making dinner for everyone. I thought, how hard can it be? I've watched my mom cook 1,000 times. So I decided I was going to make biryani, which is like this elaborate rice dish with layers of rice, meat, and spices.
Oh no, biryani for your first solo cooking attempt? That's like trying to run a marathon without ever jogging around the block first.
Exactly. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I'm trying to make this elaborate dish, and everything that could go wrong went wrong. I burned the bottom layer of rice, the chicken was overcooked and dry, and somehow I managed to put in way too much saffron, so everything was this really intense yellow color. When my family sat down for dinner, my dad took one bite and very politely said, "This is very colorful, Beta."
Oh, that's the nicest way to say this is terrible that I've ever heard. Your dad sounds like such a diplomatic person.
He really is. But you know what? Even though the biryani was a complete disaster, my parents ate it anyway. My mom said, the most important ingredient is love, and this has plenty of that. And then the next day, she spent the whole afternoon teaching me how to make simple dal, saying we needed to start with the basics before attempting the fancy stuff.
That's such a sweet story. It sounds like food is really central to family celebrations in your household. Do you have special dishes that you only make for holidays or really special occasions?
Oh, absolutely. During Diwali, which is the festival of lights, our whole family comes together and we make these special sweets called gulab jamun. They're like little round dumplings soaked in rose-scented syrup. It takes hours to make them properly, rolling each little ball by hand, frying them at just the right temperature so they don't break apart, and then letting them soak in the syrup overnight.
That sounds incredible. Rose-scented syrup. I've never heard of anything like that. It must smell amazing.
Do you all work together to make them, or is it one person's responsibility?
It's definitely a group effort. My mom makes the syrup because she's perfected the recipe over the years. She knows exactly how much cardamom and rose water to add. My sister and I roll the little balls, and my dad is the designated fryer because he has the patience to keep the oil at just the right temperature. Even my 8-year-old daughter helps by arranging them on the plates. It's like a little assembly line of love.
I love that. An assembly line of love. That's such a beautiful way to put it. We have something similar in my family, but for Christmas. Every year, we have this massive cookie baking day the weekend before Christmas. My mom, my sister, and I, we make like 6 different types of cookies. Sugar cookies, gingerbread, snickerdoodles, and of course, my dad's chocolate chip cookies. We start at like 9 in the morning, and we don't stop until late afternoon. The whole house smells like vanilla and cinnamon and butter. And then we package them all up in these little tins and give them to neighbors, teachers, friends. It's like our way of spreading Christmas cheer through the whole neighborhood. I think some people actually look forward to our cookies more than their own Christmas dinner.
That's so wonderful. I love how food connects communities like that. We do something similar during Diwali. We make extra gulab jamun and samosas to share with our neighbors. It's funny how a simple plate of homemade food can start friendships and build relationships. Some of our best neighborhood friendships started with someone knocking on our door with a plate of cookies, or us showing up at theirs with Indian sweets.
Absolutely. Food is such a universal language, isn't it? Everyone understands the gesture of sharing something homemade. Speaking of cooking techniques, I'm curious. Have you ever had to adapt your grandmother's recipes for modern kitchens? Like, did she use any old-fashioned methods that are hard to recreate now?
Oh my goodness, yes. My grandmother used to cook everything on this old gas stove that had just 2 burners, and the heat was so much more gentle and even than modern stoves. She would simmer her dal for like 2 hours on the lowest possible heat. When I first tried to make it on my modern electric stove, it kept bubbling too hard and sticking to the bottom of the pot. I had to learn to use a heat diffuser. It's like this metal plate you put between the burner and the pot to distribute the heat more evenly.
That's so smart. I had a similar issue with my dad's brown butter cookies. He used to make them on this old gas range where you could get the heat so perfectly controlled. On my electric stove, the brown butter would go from perfect to burnt in like 30 seconds. I finally learned that I had to take the pan completely off the heat and let it coast to the right color using just the residual heat from the pan.
That's such a good technique. It's funny how we have all these modern conveniences that are supposed to make cooking easier, but sometimes the old ways were actually better. My grandmother used to grind all her spices with this heavy stone mortar and pestle. I have an electric spice grinder now, which is faster, but I swear the stone one made the spices more aromatic. Something about the slow grinding process seemed to release more oils from the spices.
You know, you're probably right about that. I think there's something about the slower, more manual processes that actually develops flavors better. Like, my dad always insisted on mixing his cookie dough by hand instead of using an electric mixer. He said you could feel when it was just right, not overmixed, not undermixed. Now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever made cookies with an electric mixer either. Some traditions are worth keeping, even if they take more time.
I completely agree. And you know what I love about teaching my daughter to cook? She's learning both ways, the traditional methods and the modern shortcuts. Like, I show her how to grind spices by hand so she understands the process and can appreciate the aroma, but then I also teach her how to use the electric grinder for everyday cooking. I think it's important for her to understand where the convenience comes from, you know?
That's such a thoughtful approach. Speaking of teaching the next generation, do you think our kids will have the same emotional connection to food that we do? With so much fast food and convenience options available now, I sometimes worry that the art of slow, thoughtful cooking might get lost.
I think about that a lot too. But you know what gives me hope? When my daughter helps me make dal, she gets so excited about the smells and the process. She'll call her friends over sometimes and say, "Come smell my mom's magic powder." And they're all fascinated by it. I think kids are naturally curious about food and cooking. We just have to give them the opportunity to experience it. The key is making it fun and not treating it like a chore.
That's so true, making it an adventure rather than work. It reminds me of how my dad got me interested in baking. I mentioned his chocolate chip cookies earlier, but what really got me hooked was that he treated baking like we were conducting a science experiment. He'd explain why we use brown sugar versus white sugar, or what happens when you change the oven temperature. It made me feel like I was learning secrets, not just following rules.
Ugh, that's the worst. How did you finally figure it out? I called my mom crying. She laughed and said, "Come over and I'll teach you properly." So we spent a whole afternoon together and she helped me write down the recipe step by step. Now I have it in my phone, so I'll never lose it.
That's so smart. I can totally relate to that. I have a similar story with my dad's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Ooh, tell me about those.
So, my dad was actually the baker in our family, which was kind of unusual, right? My mom could cook amazing dinners, but when it came to desserts, my dad was the expert, and his chocolate chip cookies were legendary in our neighborhood.
Really? That's so cool. What made them special?
Well, first of all, he used brown butter. Do you know what that is? You cook the butter in a pan until it turns golden brown and smells nutty. It adds this incredible depth of flavor that regular butter just doesn't have.
Oh, wow. I've never tried that. That sounds amazing.
It really is. And then he would use a mix of brown sugar and white sugar, but more brown sugar than most recipes call for. That made them chewy instead of crispy. Oh, and here's the secret ingredient: a tiny bit of sea salt on top before baking.
Salt on cookies? That sounds interesting.
I know it sounds weird, but it makes the chocolate flavor pop. The salt and sweet combination is incredible. When I was a kid, all my friends would beg me to bring his cookies to school parties.
That's so sweet. Did you learn to make them from him?
Well, sort of. When I was in high school, I tried to learn, but I was impatient. I wanted to just get the recipe and go make them myself. But my dad insisted on teaching me step by step, and I thought I knew better than him. I burned the brown butter. I didn't realize you have to watch it so carefully. One minute it's perfect, and the next minute it's black and bitter. I was so frustrated, and my dad just smiled and said, "This is why we practice together first."
Oh, that's such a dad thing to say. So patient.
He really was. We ended up baking together every weekend for about a month until I got it right. And now, whenever I make those cookies, I can hear his voice in my head saying, "Watch the butter, Alex. Don't rush it."
That's so beautiful. It's amazing how these recipes connect us to our families, isn't it? Even when we're cooking alone, we're not really alone.
Exactly. Do you feel that way when you make your grandmother's dal?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when I'm roasting the spices. The smell takes me right back to her kitchen. Sometimes I'll make it when I'm feeling homesick or sad, and it's like getting a hug from my grandmother.
That's so sweet. Food really is comfort, isn't it?
It really is. And now I'm teaching my own kids to make it. My daughter is 8 and she loves helping me grind the spices. She calls it making magic powder because of how the plain seeds turn into this fragrant, colorful mix.
That's adorable. Magic powder. I love that.
Right? And she's already asking me to write down the recipe for her, even though she can barely read cursive yet. She says she wants to make it for her kids someday. It just melts my heart.
That's beautiful. It's like the recipe's going to live on through another generation. Do you think you'll change anything about it when you teach her?
That's a great question. I think I want to be more specific than my grandmother was. Like, instead of saying cook until it looks right, I'll teach her the actual time. About 15 minutes for the onions to get golden, or how the dal should bubble gently, not boil hard.
That's smart. Give her the technical details so she doesn't have to guess.
Exactly. But I also want to teach her the feeling part, how to tell when the spices smell just right, or how the dal should feel when you stir it. Some things you can only learn by doing them over and over.
Yes, that's exactly what my dad taught me with the brown butter. You can tell someone cook for 3 minutes, but really you have to learn to watch the color change and smell that nutty aroma.
Right. Do you still make those cookies regularly?
Oh, yeah, probably once a month. And every time I make them, I remember something new about cooking with my dad, like how he would always make sure the kitchen was completely clean before we started, or how he would let the dough rest in the fridge overnight for even better flavor.
Oh, overnight? I bet that makes a big difference.
It really does. The flavors blend together and the cookies turn out even more chewy. But when I was a teenager, I hated waiting overnight. I wanted cookies right then and there.
That's so typical. Now I bet you appreciate the waiting.
Absolutely. It's funny how cooking teaches you patience in so many ways. Your dal recipe with the slow cooked onions, my dad's overnight cookie dough. Good food can't be rushed.
So true. And I think that's part of what makes family recipes special. They're not just about quick and easy, they're about taking time to do something with love and care.
Exactly. When you make someone else's recipe from the internet, it might taste good, but it doesn't have that same emotional connection. Family recipes carry stories and memories with them.
Yes, every time I make my grandmother's dal, I remember her hands showing me how to stir, her voice telling me stories while we cooked. The food tastes like love because it was made with love for generations.
That's beautiful, Priya. I think our listeners who are learning English can really connect with this too. Cooking is such a universal language. Everyone has food memories and family traditions, no matter where they're from.
Absolutely. And cooking is actually a great way to practice English, too. Reading recipes, watching cooking shows, talking about ingredients and techniques, it's all useful vocabulary that you use in daily life.
That's such a great point. Plus, food brings people together. If you're learning English and you cook something for your English speaking friends or coworkers, it's an instant conversation starter.
Exactly. Some of my best friendships started in the kitchen. When you share your family recipe with someone, you're sharing a piece of your culture and your heart.
Well said. I think that's a perfect place to wrap up our conversation. Priya, thank you so much for sharing your grandmother's dal recipe and all those wonderful memories with us today. It's been such a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. This was really fun, and I hope it inspires people to cook something special and make some new memories in the kitchen.
And thank you to everyone listening to Speakly today. We hope you enjoyed hearing about family recipes and the special memories they hold. Remember, cooking is not just about food. It's about love, tradition, and bringing people together. If you enjoyed this conversation, please give this video a like and subscribe to the Speakly channel so you never miss a new episode. We'll be back soon with more fun, natural conversations to help you learn English. Until next time, happy cooking and keep practicing your English.